dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the...
Do we participate in a politics of cynicism, or do we participate in a politics of hope?
You can't be a world changer without being a changed man. Only changed people can change their world.
It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does.
All right, good day everyone. Welcome to another exciting package of the Leadership Breakfast. And on this edition I have a namesake of mine. He's a member of the House of Representatives. But he's not just a politician, he's also an author. He's also a public speaker and is passionate about out-of-school children. Honorable Bamidele Salam is the member House of Reps representing the good people of Ede North, Ede South, Ejibo, and Egbedore Federal Constituency at the National Assembly of Nigeria. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
And good to see you again. You gave a fantastic submission at our event at Salam University.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that.
It's a pleasure meeting with those very vibrant young Nigerians for that program.
All right, so the Leadership Breakfast is about sharing leadership experiences. It's about talking to people who have been in the room where it all happens. You started at the local government level, took it all the way to the federal, state, federal, even to the presidency before bringing that wealth of experience to serve the people at the National Assembly. So you've been in several rooms where it all happens. And this is one of the things that informed us saying we'd love to sit down with you. Let me start this way. Is it necessary that someone who would contest for bigger offices should start from smaller places and gather experience?
Absolutely, yes.
I asked that question because a lot of people draw a line of certain names who just got into executive position and had to learn on the job. So would you say that starting from the local level helps you?
Well, absolutely, yes. Leadership itself is an art. It's also a science in some sense. And as with every other art and science, it needs to be learned. Of course, I give into the fact that there are places for natural innate and abilities that one has, maybe naturally endowed with in the art of leadership. But I think there is a place for mentoring. There is a place for tutelage. There is a place where each person who is going into leadership, especially political leadership,
Right.
needs to be well tutored and well grounded in issues around governance, around politics, around relationship management, and so on. So I think, and I always advise that those who want to come into the political space, aspiring to leadership, must aim to be well grounded from the grassroots, which means their involvement need to come from the bottom to the top.
Right.
It helps quite a lot. It prepares one with the right energy, the right mindset, and the right understanding of those issues that the person will be coming across as he or she grows in the leadership ladder. So I think it's highly recommended that such a person starts from the basics, from the bottom, and then goes on.
Okay, I always want to ask this question, and I've gotten several perspectives, but I will ask you this same question. What's the first thing that you tell a young person out there who we've now come to an equilibrium where people now understand that we must all get involved? I mean, following the advent of NSAS, there are people now say, okay, so it's no more politics is a dirty game, it's a game for politicians. We must now all get involved if we want our country to move forward. And so, for that young man, that young woman that wants to get into the arena, what's the first thing you tell that person?
The first thing I tell the person is to define the purpose of going in. Right. A lot of people jump into politics or into governance without having a definite purpose. A purpose that is well defined, well spelled out, well laid out. And I tell every young person who has come to me to ask to be mentored on the issue of political involvement that the first thing that you need to do is to define your purpose. What exactly are you going to do? that is what defines or determines where you want to play. Now, getting involved is not all about contesting an election. It's not just about contesting an election. You can get involved at different layers of politics or of administration of governance. There are people who get involved who will never contest for an election, who may not even hold any office, and yet they are active participants in the place of shaping policies and programs, opinion molders, and people who some people will be very good in terms of fundraising, in terms of mobilization, in terms of media, or any other. So the first thing is to have a defined purpose. And that purpose, number one, must be altruistic. If you come in with the wrong purpose, with the wrong mindset, you're not likely to go far. And if you go far, you're likely to also come down because, again, the purpose of leadership is service, fundamentally. If you also come in without knowing your purpose, it will be easier to be swayed. Because in politics especially, there are a lot of factors, a lot of things that come into play and that happen along the line that can either, divert your attention, sway your passion, slow down your movement, or totally consume the person, and that he doesn't even get to anywhere in the process of rising. So for those who come in who are young people, I tell them, have a definite plan, have a purpose, have a vision, set out the goals of why you are in and what you hope to accomplish. Of course, in the course of growth, a few things may change, a few things may come in that will, further sharpen or brush up that purpose or that plan, but there's a fundamental upon which you build or that you get involved to do. Without having that, it will be difficult, number one, to know, for example, which political party to join, which kind of people to align with, what are the set of activities and programs that you want to set out to do. So the first thing I tell them is set a definite purpose for yourself and know that purpose. If you know why you are there, it will not be easy for anyone to come and sway you or get you bogged down with irrelevancies and so many other distractions. And there are a lot of that in the political process, especially.
We're approaching 2023. Let's not necessarily leave out, but okay, even take into consideration some off-season elections like your state, Osun. I know in my state, elections are covered very soon. But 2023 in focus, what are the major issues that should form the basis of conversations about moving Nigeria forward that young people should begin to put on the front burner right now? See, these are these issues that most affect us with 2023 in view. Why I say that is that will inform the process of interrogating the people that political parties throw up to lead for another 4 years.
Excellent, very excellent. Because at the moment you can, if you do a content analysis of the discussions around 2023 politics, a lot of things that you find. Just yesterday, Southern Governors Forum met in Lagos, and the only thing that came out of 2023 political competition is geopolitics. The next president must come from the South. So a lot of conversations that happen now around 2023 is more of geopolitics. Yes, there are a few other persons who also raise issues around the issue of generation, around age of those who are aspiring to office, and especially the next president. Of course, I do. There is a lot of benefit in having youthful persons in political offices. I do joke with people that at 52, I feel even I should be preparing to retire sometime. And that's the plain truth. There is quite a lot of energy that you need. There are a lot of things that you may not be able to do at a certain point in time going forward. And what even are we talking about? Nigeria is so blessed with a lot of young people who have the right energy, the right education, the right exposure to lead the process of change. But let me come back to the issue that you just raised. Yes. What are the things that should form the base of our conversation? Now, every society hopes to move on to a better level of development. That is the hope of everyone. But then the question is, what are the routes? There is no doubting the fact that Nigeria is today bogged down by poor leadership, poor quality of leadership. Right. Leadership, good leadership or effective or efficient leadership comes in three packets, as far as I'm concerned. The first one is knowledge. A leadership that is knowledgeable, that understands issues and understands solutions to issues, that is modern in thinking, that is conversant with global trend, that can see ahead, 10, 15 years ahead, and begin a process of solving problems that are not even there at the moment. So that's the first one. The second one is character. The second content is character. So we must be asking ourselves about those who are aspiring to hold political office in 2023, especially the highest office in the land. How much of integrity do they possess? How much of character do they have? And this is not difficult, to assess, because there is virtually no one who is coming in now who is a grain. There has always been a past. So we can always, go back to the past of the person and then look at how the person managed, an enterprise, an institution, a public office or whatever in the past, and then use that to determine whether that person actually has the right, character to aspire into office. And then, finally, and this is by no means, the least, is also the sense of inclusion, how broad-minded the person is. Because we are a country that is so divided. Our divisions are geographical, faith, political allegiance, and so many others. So whoever will govern or lead a country like Nigeria in a very effective manner, in a very productive manner, must possess a very high degree of large-heartedness, of openness, of inclusivity in thinking. So our conversations today must center around those three ingredients. The knowledge that is required to solve the problems of 2014 is less than the knowledge required to solve the problem of 2023. Because the problems are getting more complex. Yeah. So, and the more complex the problem is, the more capacity that you require. And then interrogating the past of people who are occupying public offices in terms of fidelity, in terms of their, truthfulness, in terms of their compassion, in terms of their commitment to promises and pledges, that they make in the course of campaigning. And then, like I said, finally, those people that we can see from their lifestyle and their involvement in either private or public sector that are not bigots, religious bigots, tribal bigots, ethnic bigots, that are not people who are boxed down to, all this nepotistic conduct that we see today in public offices. If we are able to identify such persons, then we have started the process of evolving the kind of leadership. So I think the conversation should rather not be on geopolitical divide. Where does the president come from? Now, the current president of Nigeria is from Katsina State. Absolutely. Katsina is one of the three poorest states in Nigeria. It is one of the states with the highest numbers of out-of-school children. It's one of the most ravaged states in terms of banditry. There are communities in Katsina today that they contribute money to pay for security and to even pay this bandit. So what has the poor man in Katsina gained by having a president for 6 years? So these are some of the things that we do. So the conversation, and I expect our youthful population to be the one that will be leading this conversation away from what we have at the moment to the issue of character, the issue of knowledge, the issue of broad-mindedness, nationalistic attitude of the person who is holding. And if we had done that in the past, I bet you some of the persons occupying offices today will not be where they are.
Now, the last point is extremely important. Not that the other two are not; they are also very important because We need to understand that Nigeria is such a broad country and you need a lot of knowledge to deal with issues. But that last issue, let me take you up on that because right now we are doing what we call constitutional amendments. And one of the things that would either foster unity or further divide us is the issue of whether or not we should devolve powers or we should not devolve powers. Well, my personal opinion is that we should amend our attitude first before we amend the Constitution. If we amend the Constitution and do not amend our attitudes, well, but it's not about me, it's about you. Should we devolve powers? Or what we need is a good leader at the center?
Well, we need both. If you have a vehicle that is dysfunctional, a vehicle that has a very terrible carburetor, very terrible piston, the gearbox is broken, the brakes are off, and you get the best of drivers in the world, and you know, he's been driving for ages, and you give him that vehicle to drive. Unless some things change, he will not be able to make so much of it. That's exactly the situation we have today in Nigeria. The present structure, the present system, the present framework itself is an energizer for failure. It breeds poverty. It promotes mediocrity. You know, let me give you an example. You know, I was looking at the issue of cutoff point for unity schools recently, and I saw the difference between Ebonyi and Zamfara State. So it means a child from Ebonyi who scores 110 or thereabouts may not get admitted into any of those schools. While somebody from Zamfara who scored 2, you have me right, 2, will get admission. Now, a system like that promotes mediocrity. It does not encourage anyone to pursue after excellence. I just use that as an example. And when we talk about devolution of powers, everyone who is right-minded benefits from devolution of powers. How does decentralizing the police serve as a disadvantage to the man in Kebbi or the man in Anambra or the man in anywhere? It's an advantage to the local authorities. You know, so the powers that we need to develop will make the man in Zamfara, who is the governor of Zamfara, able to mine the gold in Zamfara and use the benefit of that mining for the development of Zamfara, and only pay royalty of whatever percentage to the central government, rather than the inverted case that we have today that all these resources are you know, belong to the federal government that just pay 13% derivation to the state. So, you know, there is no state in Nigeria, and this is where we are blessed, that does not have enough mineral resources and enough activities it can embark upon that can make it self-sustaining. But because what we operate today, to borrow a phrase from a group I belong to, is a feeding bottle system. You know, it's a feeding bottle system that just then we come at the end of the month, we do allocation, federal allocation meeting, and we share monies that come into the post and whatever. That is the wrong approach to development. So if we are asking for devolution of powers, we are asking for that which will make any good leader that emerge to be able to do well. This system is not working, and it will not work unless it changes. So it's a combination of both. We need to change the structure, we need to repair the vehicle and get a very good driver to drive it. That's the only way we can, you know, attain those lofty goals that our forefathers set for Nigeria when we got our independence. Very, very lofty goals. If you listen to the speeches of the Tafawa Balewa, the Awolowo, the Zikwe, and all those leaders of that time, you see the lofty ideals, you know, that they were exposed. And Nigeria was not this disrespected. I watched a video, anybody can watch that video of Abubakar Tafawa Balewa's visit to the United States of America in 1961 or thereabouts, just shortly after our independence, and see how the Nigerian president was received in the United States of America, where, you know, they sent the aircraft to bring the president. You know, the vice president of the United States was in the airport to receive our president, visited so many cities with colorful parade, so many cities were giving him honorary citizenship, a lot of things that will show that this was a country that was evolving, and Americans saw that they needed to be friends to Nigeria. You know, that respect has been lost. Everywhere in the world today, you find Nigerians, you know, being messed up, you know, by systems by processes. So we want to reinvent the country and then hand it over to a very, very good leader or a set of leadership that will drive us and take us to the desired destination.
Why I asked that question based on the last thing you mentioned is that because basically the fact is that if you have a leader who is much more nationalistic in output, he'll definitely favor devolution of powers.
Oh, sure.
No. But let's come to the fact that a lot of people have said, oh, a national conference, oh this, but you're a member of the National Assembly. Shouldn't that be the responsibility of the National Assembly?
Very good question. The answer is largely a yes, and I'll tell you why I say largely a yes. Now, the way the Nigerian system is configured at the moment is itself a lot complex.
Right.
The National Assembly, yes, has powers to amend the Constitution and to do so many things. And democracy is about consensus building. It's about a lot of engagement and talk. Let me give you another very recent example. The issue of the petroleum industry bill.
I was coming to that.
This was a bill. This was a bill that had come in previous assemblies, at least 2 previous assemblies,
Yes.
and never got passed. When it got passed, never got accepted, and what have you. So you ask yourself, what are the reasons? The reasons are that the entrenched interest that we have in the polity, especially geopolitical interest. That's the truth. Geopolitical interest. Entrenched geopolitical interest did not see the larger picture of having a petroleum industry bill that will cater for the industry and then care for the hen that lays the golden egg and cares for the sustainability of the resource that we are depending on very largely, which is the petroleum resource, and expansion of the industry. Many people just saw it as a geopolitical thing. Oh yes, they want to take money to go and develop a part of the country. What about us, and so on and so forth. So the way the National Assembly or the legislature today is configured is also one of the challenges that we have in evolving as a nation. And I do joke whenever I'm with our colleagues. I do say it, and it's not entirely a joke. I say we are the problems of Nigeria. If only the National Assembly, 360 of us in the House of Reps, 109 in the Senate, can come together and agree on a common vision for Nigeria and pursue that vision in all that we do in our bills, in our motions, in our committee work, pursue that common vision, Nigeria will become the El Dorado of Africa in another 5-10 years. I'm telling you the plain truth, because this is the only institution that has a representation of all the diversities we have as a country.
Yes.
There is hardly an ethnic group in Nigeria that does not have a representative in the National Assembly. Hardly. Maybe if there are, it will be very, very few. We have all the diversities in terms of religion. We have the diversity represented here in terms of tribe, in terms of political party, all the diversities. So if only we can galvanize all those differences together, identify a common purpose. So there are booby traps, let me put it that way, that are militating against the ability of the National Assembly itself, because come to think of it, you have a very major issue to discuss in the National Assembly, and people fall back to their geopolitical interests and leanings to even discuss what position to come and take on the National Assembly. I know in politics you do a lot of engagement and consultation, but again, we have all sworn to an oath of office.
Yes.
Nigeria is the country that we must come and defend here. That whole oath of office and oath of allegiance, must be the driving force, must be the thing that will motivate us the man, not imputing any ill motive to anybody. We're all honorable members, we're all distinguished senators. But again, I think we can do more, to evolve a better country, through bipartisanship and ensuring that whatever we're going to do are more altruistic and that we're committed to the national goals.
As we wind down now, you're a member of the House Committee on Petroleum Upstream. Your committee played a very major role in what is now called the DPIB. But there have been several divergent opinions. I hear that other statesman, Chief Clark, says it's the PIB that was passed is the demonic version. I've been hearing so many things. But as someone who was part of that process, what are your thoughts on the current bill?
Well, I think that the current bill is an improvement on what we have at the moment, but it is not the best of what we can have. I believe very strongly that there are things that we could have done better. But don't forget what I said. This is democracy. Mm-hmm. In democracy, you have to win some and lose some. You must engage with people. You must negotiate, if you must put it that way. So what we have today can be described as a negotiated bill, because the interests that did not allow that bill to pass in the last 20 years are still there. But to the glory of God and the credit of this assembly, we are able to move beyond those interests, at least to have something. It is better than not having anything. So I respect the elder statesman who said it, but I don't believe it is as bad as that. It's better than not having anything. It is not the best of what we can have. Yes, I agree.
Okay. Well, congratulations on PRB. I mean, congratulations is in order, because the fact is that the current system is not just working.
No.
And also lastly, let me also congratulate you for some of the awards you received recently. I know you received one just last month. What other activities are you? I know you have a competition for secondary school children.
Yes.
I mean, those are not things that you see often here in Nigeria. It's so many other things that are rewarded, not education. But it's good that you are doing something along that line. I don't know if it's something that you're still doing.
Yeah, certainly yes. And there are things I've been doing before public office.
Absolutely.
So at times when people impute political motive in some of the things I do, I laugh, because they didn't know me. You know, those who I grew up with, those who know me very well, knew what I've been doing. And those were years when the social media was not even available. So there was no way of having it on Facebook, on Twitter, or anywhere. I've been a development person, I've been a community service person, I've been a person.
I see you go to fish ponds of your constituents and all those.
Certainly, yes. So there are things I've been doing. It's just that political office now gives me more resources to do more of those things, and then it is hardly possible to do it now in a quiet manner, because I'm a public figure.
Yes.
So wherever I go, so many people will go with me. So one way or the other, it must get reported. And again, because I'm elected, I also must give a feedback to my constituency, which is what necessitates the publicity that we see around some of this. But like I said, there are things I've been doing before now, and there are things I pray by the grace of God to continue to do. We have quite a lot of things that we have outlined even for this year. By the month of October, we'll be having a very big event that will involve children from all over the country, not just my constituency now, in the book presentation, competition, and some other activities, and quite a number of other things back in the constituency that we have planned, for the year as forms of empowerment, especially for our youthful population. We need to do more to empower them with resources, with knowledge, with skills, to be able to make a better living and also be wealth creators. So I thank the Almighty God for that.
Well done on that, because we are an organization that deals with young people. So when we hear that you're doing something for young people, we are absolutely impressed.
Thank you very much.
I can't let you go without talking about Oshun 2021. 2022, rather. It's here already.
Yes.
And as a major stakeholder in both your states, in both your party and the state, what are your thoughts? Are you planning to play a major role in terms of contesting, or just want to be part of it?
No. In 2022, I'm not going to contest. Okay. But certainly I'll play a major role. I am a member of the National Assembly.
Yes.
I'm also a leading figure in the People's Democratic Party, which is my party. And so I'll play a major role by the grace of God in ensuring that my party produces a very good candidate and wins the election eventually. So we are at the preparatory stage, and we are believing God that God will give us victory.
Honorable Bamidele Salam, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we wish you all the best. We will definitely continue to keep in touch with your programs, especially ones for children and youths, and continue to share ideas with you as we build up to 2023. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, that's the Leadership Breakfast for this week. We'll see you for another edition next week. Have a wonderful day.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the...
Do we participate in a politics of cynicism, or do we participate in a politics of hope?
You can't be a world changer without being a changed man. Only changed people can change their world.
It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does.